What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Noble M500, which is going to be like an upgraded modern version of like the M600, which I do have to admit though, I am liking the way the M500 does look compared to the 600, but similar to the 600 though, you can obviously customize this car a lot, so for the colors for me though, I'm probably going to go with like this darker blue. That looks absolutely insane with this body style. Look at the front of this thing. That's insane looking. But moving over to the visual parts now. So for the hood, we have the carbon fiber. Then we have that one. That's kind of cool. I might actually have to add that one to it. Then we have carbon. Then we have, that is a lot of vents. I feel like a lot of the vents in this are probably not even going to be used. Not really liking that one. Then we have four other bumpers. Ooh, the carbon one's pretty dope. I feel like the front of this looks like a C8, like a McLaren, almost like a car you'd see in GTA slightly. It's a lot of carbon, kind of nice with the splitter. And then I do believe that's going to be the intercooler. I also think they actually move the lights over, like those are fog lights on the bottom. It looks like they did move them over to the middle here. Not really liking that too much, but to be honest, that really doesn't look that bad though. It's actually kind of cool. You know what, should we do it? Yeah, let's do it. And then moving over to the front fender, so we have the vents there on the side. Then we have a very weird looking wide body kit. I really don't think I like this one. And the main reason for that though is I almost feel like they basically just like threw it on there. Like it doesn't actually fit the car that well. And then moving over to the rims. So of course, similar to the M600, you're only going to have these one set of rims for the Noble. And then you obviously have the ugly rims in them, the Crew 2. And then for the caliper colors, you know this car is blue, so I have to go with the yellow ones because for some odd reason, blue and or yellow fit so dang nicely together. But moving over to the mirrors now. So those are kind of cool. Let's go with the carbon. It like makes the arm carbon. That's different. Then we have these skirts here. So we have the regular painted ones. Then we have the carbon. Gonna have to go with those. Then we have that one. That's actually kind of dope. Man, I actually like the way that does look. Kind of fits the front a bit. So let's go with this one. And then, of course, the rear fenders, guys. It makes the side piece carbon. I feel like I'm going to be saying carbon way too much with this car. But moving over to the wide body kit. Again, I'm just not a big fan of how this actually looks. Plus, the fitment is slightly off like a car from GTA. So, yeah, not really feeling that all that much. And then you also see the carbon back there. So, I'm not really feeling the wide body kit. Not saying it looks terrible. I'm just not a big fan of how that does look. But moving over to the rear wings now. So here's the first one. Then we have the carbon. Then we have whatever that is. Then we have like a built piece. Then we have this big wang on the back there. How about no? Let's go with this one. And then moving over to the bumpers now. So we have the dark taillights. And then we have the painted rear diffuser piece. And then we have the painted rear diffuser. That honestly does look kind of nice though. Also, it does say M500 there. I, for some odd reason, just noticed that. But moving over to the carbon. Then we have the dark taillights. That looks pretty dope. Then we have that one. Look at those exhausts. Like, that looks so weird. I don't know how I feel about that. Then we have, oh my. You know what's kind of insane though, guys? I actually think this does look kind of dope though. Like for some odd reason, like the gold exhaust tips really do fit like the actual blue color. Then I really wish you can actually do like a bronze like color like that around this car. That would look insane. But again, I'm most likely not going to be using this because it's a bit overdone. But then moving over to the interior color, let's go with the yellow all the way to 5. Look at those seats. Those seats are absolutely insane. So it looks like you won't be able to change anything in this interior, like making something carbon. Then again, looking at how this is designed, basically being full Alcantara, I don't think you could make anything carbon. One thing I also have to admit, guys, this is one of the nicest looking interiors I've seen. Like, the screen is also not insanely big. Plus, you see, like, the smaller screen down there with, like, the climate controls. I also do like the way the shifter looks on this car. That's pretty dope. Obviously, seeing the nice 3 pedals down there. Then you also see like the dash with like the Alcantara plus like the stitching. I really do think they did such a great job with this Noble. Like this thing looks awesome. But nonetheless, guys, let's buy this right now and then check this car out after it's actually completed. So I really do like the way the M500 does look compared to the 600. Obviously, this car is going to be like modernized and or like upgraded, so it is of course going to look different. I'm kind of getting like Maserati MC20 vibes. I could be tripping out, but nonetheless, though, let's go do an outside look of this car and also take this thing on a quick top speed test. So moving over to the outside look of this Noble M500, I have to give them credit. This car really does look insanely cool. Like, I really do love the overall design of this thing. And I feel like if a car like this was actually in the USA, they would most likely sell so many of them. Now, I was looking up this car a bit, so apparently it's made of fully carbon fiber. And one thing I was very surprised about is apparently the engine is a twin-turboed Ford. That's kind of interesting to me, but it definitely does sound awesome because it is going to be a V6. So moving over to the interior of the M500, I think we can all agree this car does look much better than the M600, and of course this car is going to be like 12 years newer, so I would actually expect this thing to look a lot better. But one thing I did notice though, guys, look at that dashboard. It does kind of remind me of the Koenigsegg Jesko and or Jesko, however you actually pronounce that, but I really do love the way this car does look inside, and I would say the screen's actually a decent size. Like, it's not going to be insanely big, but you also have a smaller screen where it looks like you can adjust your AC and all that, so it's definitely going to be a lot different, but man, does this thing look really cool. So now besides all that, guys, let's go see what the top speed of this M500 actually is. So of course it is going to be similar to the M600 with a 6-speed gearbox. Let's hit the Nitro Chemist now. So in 5th gear, the car does around 254 miles an hour, not too bad. Hitting Nitro Chemist now. So one thing I did notice, one thing I did notice though, this car seems to get up to speed insanely quick though. Like, I was barely touching the nitrous and I was already doing around 285, so that's pretty dang impressive. But let's see what Nitro Chemist. So it looks like with Nitro Chemist, guys, you'll be doing around 300 miles an hour, sometimes 301. So this car is going to be up there with many of the other hypercars. It is by far not going to be slow by any means, but the big thing with this car, though, is going to be that acceleration. So when testing out the M500, I have to admit one thing, I really am enjoying this car a lot more than the M600. Not only does this car look a lot better, which I would say a lot of players will agree with, it also seems to be a lot better when racing it, and or the acceleration also seems to be slightly faster than the M600 as well, which from the testing I have done, guys, I would say that's going to be the biggest highlight of this car. This thing really does get up to 280 miles an hour insanely quick, even though it is going to be a 6-speed manual, so you will have a slight delay when shifting. I also notice you're going to be over revving in the first few gears, which to some this can be like kind of an annoyance. No, to some this can be kind of annoying, especially if you do run manual. You guys will notice you can actually like over rev slightly, maybe like an extra 5 to 10 miles per hour, which at first I would probably say is probably going to annoy some people. And for me, I was kind of mixed on this as well, but I did discover one thing though. So for example, if you guys were racing, let's say you are going around a corner, and you do actually downshift around that corner just to obviously be around the right speed. That way you're not going in like, 6th gear doing like 270, and you're like, you know what, I can make this turn. No, you probably wouldn't. So if you do downshift a few times, let's say you go back down to 3rd, and you want just slightly more power out of that one gear, at least over revving might be kind of helpful. You really can notice this coming out of certain corners because it will give you a bit more speed that you can use coming out of that corner. And then of course you do shift up and then basically continue on from there. But if you guys are using manual, I would probably say the M500 is going to be a fun and or like a learning curve type of car to get used to. But my goodness, I was having such a great time racing this car though. Like, it really is going to feel insanely fast with its acceleration. That could come down to like this car weighing like 2,900 pounds, and it could most likely come down to the fact that it obviously does do around 290. So I would actually hope this car is going to be insanely fast for that matter. But the Noble M500 compared to the M600 definitely does seem like a very competitive car. Like, I would actually jump into summits with this car and or like a lot of hyper races, and I would say this car can easily hold its own against many of the better hypercars, so I would definitely recommend picking the M500 up. If you guys don't want the M600, I would probably say this car is definitely going to be a better option, but the biggest thing though is to obviously collect as many cars as you can, so for my recommendation, I would actually go after both of these cars. That way at least you do have both of them if you do want to use them in the future. I only have around 26 miles on this car because I basically jumped into one event, and I would already recommend getting this car because it does have great handling and or stability with it. I would also recommend being slightly careful around certain corners and or like uneven ground because it did lose itself around one corner, guys, similar to the M600. It's also not going to be nearly as bad as that car was though, which to be honest I would say the M600 was kind of annoying. I even crashed that thing doing a top speed test, so I would definitely say that's going to be a slight red flag with a car. And the Noble M500 does have great customization. It also looks insanely nice as well. I really do feel like if this car was in the US, they would most likely sell so many of these things. Like, this thing is so dang nice looking. It's also powered by a Ford twin-turbo V6, which was a surprise to me because the M600 was like a Volvo Yamaha V8, so they are going to be a lot different. But the M500 is going to be insanely light though, so this car is most likely a rocket ship in real life. But I would like to know your thoughts on the Noble M500 in the comments below. And as always, guys, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more insight.